الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون قال الله تعالى ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون أما بعد. We begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most high, the most gracious. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send His peace and blessings upon His last and final Prophet, his family, his companions, and those who follow his way until the end of times. Today is a day of celebration, and our celebration is not in vain. Our celebration is not without a purpose, but rather our celebration is an act of worship. Our celebration is our way of attaining and earning and seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people have asked, and some people are asking, how can we celebrate when the ummah is going through what it is going through? We realize, we understand, we are not unaware of what the ummah is going through. But just like we celebrated the month of Ramadan and we venerated the month of Ramadan, we glorified the month of Ramadan through fasting and prayer and charity and dua. Similarly, we were commanded to celebrate the day of Eid. So today, as we celebrate the day of Eid, our celebration is an act of ibadah. Our celebration, it shows our commitment to our faith. Our celebration is a day of glorification. It is a day of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His guidance. When we greet one another with تَقَبَّلَ اللَّهُ مِنَّا وَمِنْكُمْ, may Allah accept from us and from you. Meaning that we are celebrating each other because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enabled us to worship Him, to glorify Him, to venerate Him. So today, as we celebrate, do not forget that our celebration today is an act of ibadah. Our celebration today is an act of our commitment to our faith. And similarly, our celebration today is a sign of our courage, in our strength, in our fortitude, in our steadfastness. As the people of Gaza have said, لَن تَرْكَعَ أُمَّةٌ قَائِدُهَا مُحَمَّدٌ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. That a nation, a community whose leader is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam will not bow, will not submit, will not be defeated by anyone. Our enemies and the enemies of our brothers and sisters that are suffering throughout the world are the same enemy. And today, as we celebrate, as an act of ibadah, we also celebrate the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave us steadfastness, He gave us the ability to do good deeds, and He made us from the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a nation that will not submit, that will not defeat, that will not be defeated. Yes, we are suffering, we are bleeding, but at the same time we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And today that worship is celebration. أقول ما تسمعون واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، نحمده سبحانه وتعالى حمد الشاكرين ونستغفره استغفار المذنبين المقصرين ونصلي ونسلم على خير خلق الله وعلى آله وصحابه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. Part of the difficulty of this life is finding the perfect balance, especially in moments like this, expressing joy and happiness while at the same time feeling a certain level of pain. The Prophet ﷺ, in the days of Mecca, he would pass by the family of Yasir as they were being tortured. watching with his own eyes Yasir and Sumayya being tortured. And he said to them, "Sabran ala Yasir fa inna maw'idakum al-jannah." Be patient, O family of Yasir, for indeed your appointed time and place is paradise. He would see Bilal radiallahu anhu being tortured, and he would turn to his companions and he would ask them, "Isn't there anyone amongst you that can purchase him and then free him for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?" He witnessed pain, he witnessed suffering, but simultaneously he was preaching, teaching, glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being a husband to his wife Khadija radiallahu anha, and being a father to his children. And you can imagine during that entire time, there were moments where the sadness and the grief overpowered the happiness. And there were moments where the happiness and the joy, they overpowered the grief. And even years later, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He blessed the Muslims with victory on the day of Badr, and the Muslims were overcome with joy and happiness, as the Prophet ﷺ was returning to the city of Medina, he was given the news of the death of his daughter. This is the difficulty that you and I face in this life. Finding that perfect balance. How much joy, how much happiness. How much sadness, how much grief. How do we compare, how do we weigh, how do we balance the two? Today is a day of joy and celebration. As we greet one another, as we spend time with our families, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance, for good deeds, for allowing us to witness the month of Ramadan, and hoping that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show us many, many more in our lives. Simultaneously, we acknowledge that there are thousands that are suffering, our brothers and sisters that are suffering throughout the world, in Sudan, in Turkmenistan, in Kashmir, and the list goes on. And in Gaza, for months, suffering a genocide. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them victory. But even today they are glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because لَن تَرْكَعَ أُمَّةٌ قَائِدُهَا مُحَمَّدٌ صلى الله عليه وسلم. A nation, a community whose leader is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will not bow, will not be defeated by anyone. We will go through moments of difficulty and suffering, and they will require patience, and they will require steadfastness, and they will require righteousness. As we celebrate today, let us not destroy in our celebration everything that we worked on in the past 30 days. Celebrate within the limits of Allah. Celebrate in a manner that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From myself and my family to you and your families, عيدكم مبارك. تقبل الله طاعتكم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم يسر أمورنا واشرح صدورنا ونور قلوبنا. اللهم تقبل منا صيامنا وقيامنا وركوعنا وسجودنا. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا اللهم من الراشدين. يا مقلب القلوب يا مقلب القلوب يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما أعلنا وما أنت أعلم به منا. أنت المقدم وأنت المؤخر، لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم كن لهم معينا ونصيرا ومؤيدا وظهيرا. اللهم إنا نستودعك غزة وأهلها. اللهم استر عوراتهم وآمن روعاتهم. اللهم احفظهم من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم وعن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم. اللهم إنهم جياع فأطعمهم. اللهم إنهم عراة فاكسهم. اللهم أنزل عليهم الصبر والقوة والسكينة والتمكين. اللهم أفرغ عليهم صبرا وثبت أقدامهم وانصرهم على الصهاينة المجرمين المعتدين الغاصبين. اللهم عليك بعدوك وعدوهم يا قوي يا عزيز. اللهم أحصهم عددا واقتلهم بددا ولا تغادر منهم أحدا اللهم أرنا فيهم يوما أسودا اللهم أرنا فيهم عجائب قدرتك يا قوي يا عزيز اللهم شتت شملهم وفرق جمعهم وخالف بين قلوبهم اللهم رد كيدهم في نحورهم اللهم أهلك الظالمين بالظالمين وأخرج إخواننا المستضعفين من بينهم سالمين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. As I end, two very quick announcements inshallah. Once again, if you have double parked, please move your car immediately. Also, very importantly, in this past month, specifically on the first night or the 27th night, if you made a pledge to donate to the masjid, may Allah bless you and increase you if you have fulfilled that pledge. May Allah give you more if you have not fulfilled that pledge. Please fulfill that pledge. If you never made a pledge to begin with, what we asked on the 27th night was that every individual try to squeeze themselves just a little bit and donate at least at a bare minimum $100 inshallah. There's boxes outside. You can go on the app or the masjid website and donate. Please donate generously. May Allah bless all of you, increase all of you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep all of us steadfast. Once again, Eidukum Mubarak, taqabbal Allahu ta'atakum, wa sallallahu ala nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.